Chloe stared at her parents, shock etched across her face. She had hoped for their support, a lifeline to reunite with Marcus. They chose to stand with Marcus, but Chloe was about to discover that her parents' disappointment paled in comparison to the devastation awaiting her reputation when the truth emerged. "Mom, Dad, please don't be so hard on me," Chloe pleaded, her voice trembling. "I realize I erred, but I am still your daughter. You were meant to stand by me." Linda faced Chloe, her eyes heavy with sorrow. "Chloe, being there for you doesn't mean I condone your terrible choices. Your actions towards that woman were utterly ruthless and devoid of compassion. We raised you better than this," Robert added, his voice heavy with disappointment. "Your mother and I are deeply disappointed in you." Chloe's world crumbled around her. Marcus had cast her aside, and now her parents looked at her with disappointment. "What do I do now?" Chloe asked, tears streaming down her face. Linda's voice cut through the air, sharp and unwavering. "You need to think about what you've done. You must discover how to set things straight." "How can I fix this when Marcus won't even look my way?" Chloe inquired. Robert's head hung low, a silent storm brewing within. "Chloe, this isn't just about Marcus anymore. This is a journey to transformation. Learn from this mistake." Chloe's parents led her to her childhood room, memories flooding back. It was just as it had been in high school, pink walls, stuffed animals watching silently from the shelves. That night, Chloe tossed and turned in her childhood bed, sleep eluding her. Sarah sat outside, cold and shivering, utterly alone. The thought pierced her heart. For the first time, Chloe grasped the depth of Sarah's fear and pain. At Marcus's house, a storm was brewing, shadows danced, and secrets whispered. Marcus sat beside his mother on the couch, the steam from her cup of hot tea curling into the air. A moment of quiet connection between them. Sarah felt the warmth envelop her, a soft blanket shielding her from the world. "Mom, I'm so sorry," Marcus whispered, gripping her hand tightly. "I should have seen through Chloe's deception. I failed to keep you safe." Sarah gripped her son's hand tightly. "Marcus, you had no way of knowing. Chloe masked her true feelings flawlessly in your presence." Marcus's voice trembled with regret. "I should have seen the signs. Your sadness should have been my first clue when I walked through the door. I wish I had probed deeper into how you were really feeling." Sarah gazed at her son's anxious expression. Despite the turmoil, her heart ached more for Marcus than for her own suffering. "Don't blame yourself, son," Sarah whispered gently. "You married Chloe, driven by love's fierce pull. Love compels us to seek the good in others despite their unworthiness." Marcus sank deeper into the couch, a heavy sigh escaping his lips. "I never imagined I'd be tied to someone capable of such cruelty towards you. How could I have missed her true self?" "People can conceal their true selves for ages," Sarah revealed. "Chloe's kindness toward me during your relationship was just a ploy to win your affection. Once she found safety in your marriage, her true self emerged." Marcus nodded, the weight of his mother's words sinking in. "She deceived me utterly. The raw truth of it was a bitter pill to swallow. He had loved Chloe, had built a life with her, all on a foundation of lies. He felt foolish, blindsided by a woman he thought he knew completely." He turned to his mother, gazing at her with a heart swelling with love and deep respect. "Mom, you mean everything to me. You will forever remain." In the warm, peaceful house, Marcus and Sarah shared a moment they had long yearned for, an overwhelming sense of safety and love. The silence between them was no longer heavy with unspoken pain, it was a sanctuary of understanding. The soft hum of the refrigerator, the gentle ticking of the clock, all seemed to confirm that he was finally where he belonged, with the woman who truly mattered. They stayed there, wrapped in a blanket of comfort, until the first hint of gray light began to creep through the windows. Yet, dawn would unveil unforeseen consequences, for the truth of Chloe's actions wasn't just a private matter. It was a story that would spread, and the next few days would reveal that a lie can travel halfway around the world while the truth is still putting on its shoes. Dawn would unveil unforeseen consequences. Chloe's world, already shattered by Marcus's swift decision, was about to face a public reckoning. As the sun rose, she woke on her childhood bed, the stuffed animals and pink walls a cruel reminder of a time when her life was simpler. The shame she felt was a cold knot in her stomach, but it was about to be joined by a sharp stab of dread. Her phone buzzed. It was a text from her best friend, Isabella. "Chloe, have you seen the news? Everyone's talking about it." Confused, Chloe opened her web browser. There, on a local news site, was a headline that made her heart pound: "Woman accused of abandoning elderly mother-in-law in the cold." The article didn't mention her by name, but the details were unmistakable: a Boston couple, a surprise return from a business trip, a shivering elderly woman on a porch. The comments section was a torrent of vitriol. People were furious, sharing the story and adding their own outrage. Chloe's hands trembled as she saw the story spreading across social media. Her phone lit up with notifications, emails from colleagues, messages from friends, all asking the same thing. How could she have done this? Her carefully constructed facade of a perfect life was crumbling. Meanwhile, Marcus was trying to protect his mother. After a restful night, Sarah woke feeling better, but the events of the previous evening had taken their toll. When Marcus turned on the TV to check the weather, a local news anchor was discussing the story, using his family's street as a reference point. Marcus's heart sank. He immediately turned off the television, wanting to shield his mother from the public spectacle. "Mom," he said gently, "I need to go out for a little while. I'm going to get some things, and I'll be right back." "Where are you going, son?" she asked, her eyes full of concern. "I have to handle this," he replied. "I need to make sure the truth is told, but I want to protect you from the ugliness of it all." He saw the understanding in her eyes and knew she trusted him. He left the house and drove to a small coffee shop he knew was usually empty. He pulled out his laptop and typed out a statement. He wouldn't name Chloe, but he would confirm the story's validity. He had to set the record straight and defend his mother's honor. He published the post on his social media accounts, making it clear that his mother was safe and that he was deeply proud of her. He also made a point to correct the false information that was circulating, emphasizing that his mother was a dignified and loving woman who had sacrificed everything for him. Back at her parents' house, Chloe was a wreck. She called her mother, Linda, her voice choked with sobs. "Mom, everyone knows. It's everywhere." Linda, who had seen the news story herself, remained calm. "Chloe, you chose to do a cruel thing, and now you have to face the consequences. This is what it means to be held accountable." The public judgment was relentless. The story was picked up by national outlets. Chloe became an overnight villain, a symbol of disrespect and selfishness. Her friends and colleagues distanced themselves. She was no longer just the woman who had made a mistake, she was the woman who had cast out her mother-in-law. Her professional reputation, which she had worked so hard to build, was now in tatters. Chloe realized that her carefully curated life was a house of cards. She had built it on appearances and a disregard for genuine human kindness. The truth was that she was a product of her own selfish choices, and now, for the first time in her life, she had to face them head-on, with no one to blame but herself. Her parents had a line for her, Marcus had a line, and now the world had a line. And she was on the wrong side of all of them. Chloe's shame was a living thing, a weight she carried with her everywhere. The once bright glow of her phone screen now felt like a spotlight on her sins. The public vitriol was relentless, and every comment was a hammer blow to her sense of self. She was a pariah, and the consequences of her cruelty were spreading like wildfire. Her phone buzzed with a message from her boss, Mark. "Chloe, we need to talk. My office, tomorrow, 9 a.m. The formality of the message was a bad sign. She knew what was coming. Her career, a carefully constructed monument to her ambition, was about to be torn down. At the same time, Marcus was at a small diner with his mother. He had spent the morning turning off the internet and the television at home, creating a sanctuary from the storm. But he couldn't protect her from the whispers. At the diner, a few people stared, some with sympathy, others with raw curiosity. One woman even approached their table. "Mr. Johnson?" she asked, her voice soft. "I just wanted to say that your post was beautiful. Your mother is a lucky woman to have a son who stands up for her like that. What Chloe did was terrible, but I'm glad to see a good person like you rise above it all." Marcus smiled, but his heart ached. He was being hailed as a hero, but it all felt hollow. He was still the man who had failed to see the truth right in front of him. He was a son who had allowed his mother to suffer in silence for months. Back at her parents' house, Chloe was consumed by a desperate need to fix things, not for herself, but for the damage she had caused. She knew an apology was useless. She had to take action. She couldn't call Marcus. He had made it clear he wanted nothing to do with her. So she wrote. She wrote a letter, pouring out her shame, her sorrow, and her regret. She didn't ask for forgiveness, she only acknowledged her immense failure. She detailed every cruel word, every selfish act, and admitted that her pride and ego had blinded her. She knew the letter might be discarded, but she had to try. The next morning, she walked to her old home, the one she had helped decorate and furnish, and slipped the letter through the mail slot. She lingered for a moment, her fingers touching the cold metal, a ghost of a life that no longer existed. Later that morning, Marcus found the letter. He opened it, his heart heavy, and read Chloe's raw confession. The words were a stark contrast to the person he had known. He felt a flicker of something, not forgiveness, but perhaps a beginning of understanding. He finally saw the chasm between the woman he had married and the person who was now desperate for a chance at redemption. That same afternoon, Chloe went to her parents' house to pick up a few more things, and she was confronted by her own mother, Linda. "Chloe, a few of my friends called this morning. They heard about the story and are canceling our plans. They said they were disappointed in me for raising a daughter who would do such a thing. You've brought shame upon our family, Chloe." Linda's voice was filled with a sadness so profound it was worse than any anger. Chloe's world, once a carefully curated masterpiece of perfection, was now a public and private ruin. The lies she had built her life on had crumbled, and in their place was a stark, brutal truth. She had no one to blame but herself. She was alone, isolated, and forced to face the harsh reality of her own choices.